I'm Marisa Peer, and today I'm going to show you how you can naturally beat depression. If you want to cure depression, you really need to understand what depression is all about. In my experience, I've worked with depressed people for more than 30 years. I found there are 3 big things that cause depression. And if you know what they are, that will help you to get over depression. Here's number 1, and this is huge. In my opinion, and in the opinion of many, many people I've trained, depression is caused by harsh, hurtful, critical words that you say to yourself on a daily basis. When you are harsh, hurtful, and critical about yourself, it will make you depressed. Imagine you had a roommate who every day was hurtful, harsh, and critical to you. You try to get them out of your life, but when you're the critic, when you're harsh, hurtful, and critical, you can't get out of your own life. So I want you to stop criticizing yourself. I want you to remember this: criticism withers people's soul, whereas praise builds it up. So just be alert to how often you go, I'm a loser, I can't get that right, I'm no good at that, I'm just no good at confrontation, I can't talk, I'm no good under pressure, I don't have any talents. When you do that, you're withering your own soul. So I want you to make a commitment today to stop being your own worst critic. Critical people are unhappy people, and most critical people reflect out their own dissatisfaction. But when you are critical of yourself, you're hurting yourself. You are allowed to make mistakes, many, many, many mistakes, but you are not allowed to punish and beat up your own body for being human. So that's the first cause of depression. The second cause of depression is failing to follow your heart's desire. I couldn't even tell you the number of people who come to see me who say, I always wanted to be a vet, I always wanted to be an actor, always wanted to be a lawyer, but I just couldn't do it. I got married at 22, I already had 2 children, I never followed my heart's desire. And here I am in my 50s, chronically depressed. They don't know why they're chronically depressed. They don't even know why they're depressed, but I have done a lot of unpicking with my clients, and I'll tell you some stories. I had a client who wanted to be a vet, and she was asked to leave vet school twice. She just didn't have the intellectual ability to study to be a vet. And when I told her she could be something else, she got very cross about it. I'm not going to be a dog walker. I said, no, it's not black or white. It isn't about I can't be a vet, so I'm going to walk dogs. There's many things you could do. I happen to have a great friend who used to be in the Boomtown Rats, who is a dog behavioral expert, in fact an animal behavioral expert. I introduced them, and she realized that she could become an animal behavioral expert. And did she do that? She actually got her own television show. She made more money than she would have made as a vet. She had a phenomenal life because she realized her heart's desire was, I must work with animals. I have to work with animals. But that doesn't mean I've got to be a vet or a dog walker. There's a middle way. I had another client who always wanted to be a doctor, but she didn't have the money to go to medical school. She just didn't have the privilege to do 7 years of medical school. And so all her life she worked as a waitress, and all her life she was depressed because she had a calling to be a doctor. And I said, well, why do you want to be a doctor? Tell me why. She says, well, I want to help people. I'm like, well, there are other ways. She realized that she could work in a hospice. She could have been a healer. She could have been an aromatherapist. But she actually, that's what she did. She worked in a hospice, putting her hands on people, helping them the end of their life. And she got everything she would have got being a doctor. She didn't save lives, but she made lives better. And that's what happens when people do not follow their hearts. Desire. Frank McCourt, who wrote Angela's Ashes, was a teacher all his life. At 62, he realized he wanted to write, and he wrote a worldwide bestseller. One of many, many, many people who did that. Many writers write at 60. Many people find success in their 40s and 50s. It's a myth. If you haven't made it by 35, you never will. Some of our most eminent writers, performers, artists find success later in life because they realize, I've got a calling, I must follow my passion, and they do. My grandmother always wanted to work in the theatre. She didn't, but she was a dresser. She loved dressing actors, helping get ready to go on stage, because she was in the theatre, surrounded by the excitement, the drama of the theatre. You don't have to be a famous actor to be on set. You don't have to be a famous artist to be in the art world, but you do have to take a minute and think, what is my passion? What is my heart's desire? Why have I failed to follow it? Often that's financial. Could I follow it now? Is there some way I could follow my heart's desire? The answer is yes, absolutely. It's never, ever, ever too late to follow your heart's desire. The man who played Martin in Fraser's dad, he wanted to be an actor all his life, but at 50, he decided to do it, and he was just working in a local community theatre, and he got cast as Martin, changed his life, and he said, I was so depressed just before that happened because that was my calling. You have a calling, you have a heart's desire, you need to follow it. I work with many people who said, you know, I left it too late to have a child, and now I'm so depressed. And I'm like, well, you can still have a child in your life. Of course, it's not the same, but you can mentor children. You can sponsor children in orphanages. There's always a way to get into your life. Maybe you've always wanted animals, but you can't have them because your apartment doesn't allow it. You can still look after other people's animals, walk older people's animals. It's not black or white. Look outside the box. Please follow your heart's desire, because it will stop depression in its tracks. Here is a third major cause of depression, and it's another biggie: being disconnected. It is wired into our DNA. We need people. We are tribal people living in modern bodies. In a tribe, you were part of a community. You were never alone, and now we live in our apartment. We go on Facebook. We have everything delivered. We don't need to ever speak to anyone or see people, and that is making people sick. I go to Africa a lot, and there's intense poverty there, but strangely enough, very little depression, because they have communities. The more of a community you have, the less depression you have. One of the things I found with depressed people, which is immensely sad, is they have a belief there's no cure for depression, and even if there was, I don't deserve it. You do deserve it, and there is a cure. So let me tell you the 3 things again that will cure your depression. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop those harsh, hurtful, critical words. Cut them out of your life. Make that a dim, distant memory. Find a way, any way at all, of following your heart's desire. Maybe you want to write a book. You can still write a book. You can write for a local paper. It doesn't matter if it's not published. It just matters that you follow your calling. And finally, remember, connection is vital to your soul. People need people. You need a community. You need a tribe. And you can find a tribe. And you can actually start finding a tribe here. I want you to go into the comments and talk about how you avoid stuff. I want you to talk about the things you find it the hardest to do, because you have to do what you don't want to do. When you don't want to exercise, exercise. You don't want to eat healthy food, make healthy food. You don't want to go out and talk to someone or even have people around because they expect something from you. You've got to do that anyway. So help other people who are depressed and help you find your tribe. Go into the comments and talk about the things that you find hardest to do. Talk about the things you're not doing. Talk about how critical you have been about yourself. Talk about the heart's desire, the calling that you haven't followed, and talk about the community, the disconnection, the epidemic of disconnection we live in now that is making people depressed. You don't need a pill to feel better. You need to wire and fire those actions into your life, and I know you can do it. I've worked with people who are suicidal, whose life has changed immensely. And that doesn't mean, of course, that some people aren't helped by medication. It just means that there is more to life than medication. This is your life. in your hands. You don't need to give that to someone else. But I do need to add one thing. It's very important. If you're on medication, do not come off it. Don't think, oh, I'll just do that and throw away my pills. The side effects of coming off antidepressant medication are something that you need to go through with a physician, with a doctor. So if you're on medication, please don't give it up. You can give it up over time, but there's a way to do that. So in the comments section, I want you to share your heart's desire. Share your calling. Share the thing you haven't found. Because by sharing it, you're probably going to find it. You can do these 3 things. They will change your life, I promise. Thanks for tuning in.